Last year, movie came out, Top Gun, Maverick. And I imagine most everybody has probably seen it. I did find out AJ has not.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in that movie where Maverick, Tom Cruise, goes and sees Ice. He is from the previous movie, Iceman, and he is the admiral over all the Pacific Fleet. Ice has got throat cancer and can't speak, so he's typing his thoughts onto the monitor that Maverick can read. At one point in the conversation, he types, "It's time to let go." Whatever it is that you need to let go of, it's holding you back. From what? From being who you're intended to be, to walking fully into the freedom of who you are. Welcome to the Live Truly Free podcast, where we provide fatherly guidance to entrepreneurs at any level of their journey. Hi, I'm George Black, and this is AJ. Are you ready for this week's adventure of building great companies and discovering the Live Truly Free lifestyle for entrepreneurs? Awesome, let's get started. Can we still say Happy New Year?
Yeah, I guess we can. It's
okay.
Soon enough.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone.
And I'm AJ.
I'm George.
And so, George, just kind of picking up where we left off last week in this New Year's theme. Last week we talked about using advanced words to kind of help you guide yourself through the new year. And I haven't come up with mine exactly yet. I'm still taking the time to reflect like we talked about.
That's good.
But I'm really enjoying this new process to me. I know you've been doing it for years now, but it's been refreshing for me to think about it.
That's great. Yeah. So I have something that's new to me.
Okay.
That I think is going to be incredibly powerful for everyone. Last year, movie came out, Top Gun, Maverick. And I imagine most everybody has probably seen it. I did find out AJ has not.
Yeah.
But it's okay if you haven't seen it because AJ hasn't seen it and this is still going to make a lot of sense. So there's a scene in that movie where Maverick, Tom Cruise, goes and sees Ice. He is from the previous movie, Iceman, and he is the admiral over all the Pacific Fleet. And in the dialogue in that conversation, well, actually, Ice has got throat cancer and can't speak, so he's typing his thoughts onto the monitor that Maverick can read. At one point in the conversation, he types, "It's time to let go." And the cursor's blinking, and there's a long silence, and the camera pans back over to Maverick, and his eyes are filling with tears. He goes, "I don't know how." And this triggered me in a way, and I'm going like, wow, what a powerful way. If we could come up with one thing to let go of from 2022 or earlier years that we don't have to drag into 23, how much more freedom could we know?
Yeah, and you showed me the clip of that, and in that pause when the cursor was blinking, it seemed like Maverick was reflecting on more than just one thing. Like it did seem to be. I didn't see the first movie. I didn't see the new one. But just from that brief 3-minute clip that you showed me, it seemed like he was carrying a lot of that baggage from previous years. And so with your new method, if we want to...
Yeah, we don't have a name for it yet.
Yeah, if we want to pull it out a little bit, is let's just focus on one at first.
Right, yeah.
I'm imagining most people have multiple years of things they can let go.
So I'm going to keep talking about the movie, and I'm very careful with it. I don't spoil it, but even if you've seen it, I'll bet I'm going to share some ideas that you didn't catch when you watched it. And here's one of them. There's a sweep in this movie that struck me. And it begins with they're calling these 12 elite Top Gun graduates back to Fightertown, USA. And these are the best of the best. And they're all gathering at the bar. I guess it's the night before the class actually begins or the training begins. And Maverick is sitting at the bar. They don't even notice him hardly. And he's watching these guys in their crisp uniforms and the egos in this room. They are just dripping with arrogance and bravado, and because they know they're the best. And they're calling each other by their call signs, and they're horsing around, and they're doing all these things. Maverick's watching them, and he's seeing this is exactly who he was 30 years before. And so much time has passed. These guys, as it comes out in the conversation, they've only had one kill among all of them.
So they have all this bravado, thinking they're the best, but none of them's actually done anything?
They've never been in battle. They haven't been battle tested. And they even joked that the one kill that the guy got was some museum piece that was shot down. So it's not even a real kill in their book. You know, this guy thinks it's a real kill, right? So here's the thing. Maverick's carrying a lot of burden. So if you've seen the first one, his navigator Goose is killed in an accident. Maverick's cleared of that. There was no pilot error. It was not his fault. This crushes him, and that's one of the things he hasn't let go of. But actually, Goose's son, who goes by the call sign Rooster, is in this Elite 12.
Oh, and so that's gotta be painful for Maverick.
Yeah. To me, so we've talked about how we live in a broken world. We talked about this some, and we want to navigate to that. But I want to talk about a different kind of force. I think there's a force also at work in this world that wants us to find our freedom, to not be bound to what other people say we are or who we are, but that we can actually become who we're intended to be while on Earth. And this force for freedom causes things to happen that are like this. This is a great story where it's like we're confronted with things in our life and we have a choice to deal with them or not deal with them. And so I just think there are these forces. And so if we want to embrace something, I would like to challenge all of us to look back over the last few years, or last year in particular, for something that we could let go of, that we need to let go of. It's dragging us down. It's not letting us be who we're intended to be. And I'll go first. I want to tell you guys, this is fresh stuff. And so we're going to try to, hopefully this is going to make a lot of sense, but you can leave comments and email us or whatever, because this is a dialogue we're going to start and probably continue through the year, see how we do on it. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing some cleaning out. I'm cleaning out some old boxes from a closet, and I'm going through stuff. And it's stuff that's in this box 10 years, and I'm like, ooh, most of this I should probably just get rid of, but I'm afraid of making the wrong decision.
Yeah.
What if I throw out this thing, and then a few weeks later I want it? And it's like, something began to occur to me. And I'm like, why do I have this to begin with? Mm-hmm. What I realized was, all these things were in this box for a reason. I didn't want to make a decision about them. So I just put them in the box. I had room in this closet, which I no longer have room for. And I realized I have a fear of making the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Now, it's not, let me just finish the thought here. Because if you just think, oh, George, no big deal, you're cleaning out a box. It's no. If I have a fear of making the wrong decision, I've discovered it in cleaning out this box. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that I do have a fear of making a decision on a much larger basis.
Yeah. And so would you say you suffer almost from like paralysis by analysis?
Yeah. Oh, well, no, I don't even suffer anymore. There's no suffering. I just don't make the decision, and I just set it aside.
Oh, okay. So you just like, you just push it, you kick the can down the road, and I kind of feel the same exact way. I got a messy desk because I don't know what's gonna be needed. I got a lot of old notebooks from high school classes that I'm never gonna open again.
Right.
Things like that. I'm like, well, what if I need them in college? But I'm graduated now, so I might never need biology.
Right.
Like I got to accept that. But you said you don't suffer from it anymore, or at least you're now conscious of it, so you're kind of working on it.
Well, I meant by I don't suffer from it because I don't deal with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, AJ, you've had about 10 minutes to think about this. We chatted a little bit, but what do you think is something you might want to try to let go of for 23?
So as I've been thinking about this in the short time I've had, I'm thinking it's like I have this fear that I need to get everything right the first time or like right away. And it's especially apparent now as I'm out of college now and I'm building my adult life. It's like this fear that everything I'm building, the bricks need to be the right size, the right color, in the right place at the right time, all the time. Like everything feels like it needs to be right, or I'm going to end up with this ugly house that I don't want, or something like that.
So, where does this come from?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a little bit too, and I think it's because as I've gone through school, like I went middle school, high school, college, like we've talked about before. And in that, you're very programmed to like get the right answers on the test, and then you get a good grade, and now everything is good for you. And I was very good in that system. Like I knew how to get up things right then and get the good grades and all of that. And I did that until I graduated college. But there's not a midterm and a final exam now that I'm...
There's also not spring break. There's also not a holiday every time you turn around. There's no summer vacation.
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world. This is good. This is so interesting. This would be huge for you to let go of. So in academia, there's a right way and a wrong way, right? I mean, there's an A plus and there's a F.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's a 1.0 and a 4.0.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so I noticed this, what you're talking about, like the competition, the pitching competition, and everybody, it's felt like, now that you've mentioned it, everybody wanted it a certain way. They had to do all these things in a certain order. And I'm sitting out there going like, yeah, you could. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's nothing right about that.
Yeah. And that's a pretty good insight there, because actually at the end of our summer program, gearing up for that final competition, they gave us what they wanted in our pitches. And like each exact section. So most people, myself included, pretty much just followed that to a T.
So you get an A on the exam.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So basically what you're talking about letting go of is doing it just right.
Yeah. Or this idea that I can always do it just right every single time.
Yeah. Which would mean there's a right way and a wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay.
When in reality, there's a lot more it's not black and white. There's a huge gray area of what's right and what's wrong. And it's...
Right. So I want to go back to the movie, because the movie is a story. And oftentimes in story, what I find is that there's clues. Maverick's response to Ice is, I don't know how. I don't know how to let go. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking for clues. I'm like, can we come up with some clues out of this to give us some guidance on how we can let go of, how you can let go of things, how I can let go of things, how you all can let go of things. And I found 2 clues, and one's unstated. So the one thing that Maverick has to let go of is Rooster. And let me just explain that with a little story set up. So he reveals elsewhere in the movie, Maverick does, that he wanted to be like a father to Rooster. But he made some tough calls that Rooster resents, and you'll find it out. It's not a big scene spoiler thing, but he kept him out of the Naval Academy for 4 years and set back his career. And Rooster has not forgiven him for it. You'll see it in the trailer. The thing about that is that on this mission, and he and I talk about this mission that these 12 pilots are being trained for, is if he goes on the mission, he could die. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't, Maverick says, if he doesn't let him on the mission, Rooster will never forgive him. And he'll lose him. He'll lose him either way. And I'm like, isn't that the way it feels? Isn't that the way? The thing to let go of is, I'm going to be damned if I do, and I'm going to be damned if I don't.
Yeah, like when you're going through your box of stuff, like if I keep it, now I got too much stuff in my house. If I let go of it, I'm probably going to want it or need it in a few days.
It's like I haven't thought about it for 10 years, but then I see it. Now it's on my mind, and then I throw it out, and then a few days later, I'm like, oh, I could use that because it's on my. It's like, okay, you get it. I mean, we're using a super simple illustration to illustrate something very complex and relational. But here's the interesting thing: is the unstated element, and I kept wanting them to say this, but there is a father heart kind of love of Maverick to Rooster. And here's the thing, is true love doesn't keep you from who you are. True love encourages you to be who you're going to be. And that means there's going to be risk. There could be loss, there could be pain, there could be disappointment, there could be adventure, and there could be true love, true relationship.
Mm-hmm. And so for him to truly love Rooster is to let Rooster go on the mission, be the fullest version of himself that he's been thriving to be for, and stop trying to hold him back just so that he can know for sure that he still has Rooster.
So this unspoken theme that is going on through the movie, it's a thread in the movie, is this love. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you've had people who have loved you well and you flourished. And then you've had people who didn't love you well and you didn't flourish. And they may have had great intentions, okay? They may have had great intentions. But the thing is that those are the people the true love is where we're drawn to. And Maverick has to let go of the fear he could lose him forever.
Yeah. Because that fear, he can't let that fear, if he truly loves Rooster, he can't let that fear stop Rooster from being himself.
Right. This is a little complicated. We're going to try to apply it in just a second. So let me go to the second element. And this is, so when Maverick says he doesn't know how, Ice stands up and he can barely speak, and he says to Maverick, he doesn't type this, he says it, the Navy needs Maverick. The kid needs Maverick. That's why I fought for you. That's why you're still here. What Ice says here is huge, because we all need someone who's believing in us, or believing in some element of us. We need to know we are needed. We need to know we matter. We need to know we have what it takes. There's a reason for us here. And here's the thing. It's not about the Navy for Maverick. It's not about the kid. It's his relationship with Ice after all these years. And they were fierce competitors if you see the first movie. After all these years, the bond between these two men is amazing. So let's see if we can apply these two elements to our situation.
Yeah, love and belief from others.
Yes. So, okay, I've got a fear of making the wrong decision. I'm going to try to let go of that. Part of that is, here's how I think love applies to that. This is tricky. I've got to love myself even if I make the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Because I don't. It's really hard when I make the wrong decision. I can't call myself stupid anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe there's little sub letting goes, some tinier letting goes, like stop calling yourself stupid. So how do you think love applies to yours?
I think it's in a similar vein, but it's almost like, so one, forgetting that black and white, right and wrong, and then going in the gray area, and then kind of with love, just loving myself and trusting myself to live into the most authentic version of myself.
Yeah.
And like leading with that rather than this right or wrong, and because that's entirely subjective, who makes right or wrong. Like if I'm just loving myself and then living into that authentic form, that is how I should approach it.
Okay.
Then to bounce it back to you for that second element,
Right.
belief from other people, I think a good example would be kind of this podcast, because we met in the pool as we talked about earlier, and you had me check out your YouTube channel. I watched a couple videos, and next week I saw you. I was like, it seems like you're a smart guy, but it seems like you're like selling yourself short or watering yourself down. Cutting these YouTube videos are too short for you.
Right.
Like you seem like a long form type of guy. You should try a podcast. And then, so that's a belief from another person in you.
Right.
And then you took that and ran with it. And like probably within a week or 2 weeks, we got in front of the camera. And
yeah, that's really, really good because, it's a great illustration because there was no fear of making the wrong decision. It was something I had been wanting to do for years, and you have been wanting to do a podcast, and there was no hesitation. Yeah. And and I recognize that when you observed what you did about my videos, I was like, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy's good. He's real good. So let's do this thing and see what happens.
Bring this back to myself.
Right.
You're older than me.
Right.
But you had that same belief that, oh, this college kid would be interesting to have on a podcast with, and not just like the general stereotype of us college kids. We think we know
all right.
more.
So maybe after today's podcast, we're going to start going by our new call signs. I'm Maverick, you're Rooster. It is so important, guys, to have people who believe in you and have those voices in your life. And here's the thing. Why? It's because whatever it is that you need to let go of, it's holding you back from what? From being who you're intended to be, to walking fully into the freedom of who you are. And look, you're right. I am older. I'm like Maverick. I've got 30 years of this stuff like he does, boxes full of stuff in my life. And you don't. You're like the young hotshots at the pool table, I mean, of course, you've got no kills, you've got no battle scars, you've got none of that, but that's okay. I mean, that's where you're supposed to be. I'm where I'm supposed to be. And if we move toward letting something go, we keep becoming more and more who we're intended to be. Only you can bring who you're intended to be to this world. And if you don't, it never is going to happen. Nobody else is going to bring the uniqueness that you bring. And if you don't, we'll never know. The world will never know what was missed. So whatever it is, I want you to identify it and let go of it. And here's why. You are loved. The world needs you. All of you. You matter. You have what it takes. Now, go figure out what that is to let go of for 2023. We'd love to hear about that. So email us or leave a comment. And this is going to be a great year, guys. This is going to be a great year.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. We got 2 new ways to approach the new year from all our previous thinking.
So guys, watch this video next. It's got some great ideas on how to begin the new year. And in the meantime, may you live truly free.